Yo guys, what's going on? Robert Warshack here, and we have a update. There's going to be buffs, there's going to be nerfs, definitely a lot more buffs than nerfs in the upcoming balance change 26.0.4, which will be happening this upcoming Thursday, so just 2 days away. And the meta, hopefully, with these changes, should be fresh. We don't know exactly what these changes are, which is what we're going to be getting into this video. We're going to be taking a look at the cards because we just have an image from it, and then speculating from there what these possible changes could be. Again, with the amount of cards being changed here, almost regardless of how good or bad the change is, we're going to probably see a new meta and some decks that previously were not seeing any play, which is always good regardless of the changes that they make. Also, they've mentioned that making changes to nerfing cards is always ultimately changes the meta more than buffing cards, because reducing the power level of really good stuff lets the not so good stuff shine, while buffing underplayed cards doesn't actually mean those cards will see play, because if the good decks are still good and they're just making other decks better, it still might not be good enough, or the good deck still could just beat that deck, right? So you always see more. Like, you could nerf one good card and it would have the same impact as buffing 5 or 10 cards. But regardless, we have a lot of buffs here. Hopefully it shakes it up. Let's take a look. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 warrior cards getting buffed here. Voon is one of my least favorite warrior legendaries I think almost ever printed. He does exactly the same thing pretty much as the old Voon. The old Voon like copied dragons in your hand, and that card was like bad. And then they basically just reprinted him to like copy one of each tag cards in your hand, which is still bad. It's just, I don't know, like they didn't learn their lesson with the previous Voon at all, that like this card is bad, and then they just like remade it and it's bad. So this is like really a waste of a warrior legendary in my opinion. We basically have every rift here. I don't know how you change these cards other than you change the mana or you just make them do more damage, right? So right now, this is like a 2 mana get +2 attack and gain 2 armor. That's terrible. So you either make it 1 mana or you give it like +3 or 4 attack and gain again 3 or 4 armor. So you just make the card better for the mana cost, or you reduce the mana cost to have it line up with what its power level is. That's really the only change you can do there. The 6 mana rift. The minions, they're 4/3s. I mean, they're just not good. Like, you have to make them 5/4s or 4/5s. And then also there's like a new warrior 2 mana card that says for every type of card on the battlefield, draw a card. I would like to see the rift cards summon tagged minions, whether they're Quillbores or beasts or beast Quillbores or whatever have you. The rift, the 2 cards that you get summoned from the rift should have tags. I think that's important to synergizing with the new cards. And that brings me to Power Slider, which is right here. So this card, when we reviewed it like a week or 2 ago, the card itself is cool. The problem is it doesn't have an identity. So when you have a card that says it gets +1/+1 for every other card type that you've played this game, and it says played not summoned, which we'll get to in a little bit, and it costs like I think 3 mana. It's a 1/2. You're never playing that on turn 3 because you haven't summoned any minions. So this is a card that you're gonna play like turn 7, 8, 9. We're gonna play this card way later in the game, right? So why is it such a cheap mana cost? You're playing it way later and it's just bad. Like, you're getting +1/+1 for each other type. So the best it's going to be is what, like a 5/6, a 6/7 on turn like 8 or 9 for 3 mana. It just seems bad, right? So a way you can make Power Slider better is you make it say the word whenever you summon a minion from another class. So then if you play the rifts would buff it if those minions had tag. Also, Guard the City is a 2 mana summon a 2/3 Naga and you get 3 armor. You could actually play that card now because it would buff the Power Slider and it would work well with the 2 mana draw card. So there's a lot of synergies they could do by just changing cards for either having tags. Because if you're going to run like a menagerie deck, the cards need to have tags. Like, if you're summoning creatures that don't have tags in a menagerie deck, like why are they menagerie cards? So again, changing Power Slider to say summon, having cards that get summoned off the wrist have tags so you can use them to draw is really important, or use them with Power Slider again. There's just a lot of small tweaks that they can make the deck actually playable. I don't know if they're going to do any of that, right? Those are just what I wanted. Like, I played with the Warrior deck, the Rift Warrior, maybe 10, 20 games, right? We also played it in the Theory Crafting event, and it really didn't take that much time to figure out these changes. Like, I don't get paid to do this, like, to, like, balance cards or come up with predictions, right? It's not my job to balance. But it really doesn't take up... Just play the game. And you can clearly see, in my opinion, what sucks ass. And Rifts suck ass. So let's just make them not suck ass. All right. I didn't even know this guy was in Standard. Before, he was a 2-mana 2/2 battle cry, like, discover a taunt minion. So, like, I don't know how they change him. Like, make him a 3/3, 2/3, 3/2. I don't know. Shield Block, that's an interesting one. It's a card that hasn't felt great in a long time. You play it because Warrior has to, even though Warrior sucks. So you're playing this, like, 3 mana, get 5 armor, draw a card, which used to be good. It was a very good card. It's found in almost every control Warrior. The problem is it's just outdated, right? There's just better stuff that you can do for 3 mana now, in almost every other class, right? So the only thing I can think here is you gain, for 3 mana, you gain 8. You gotta gain 8 armor. But then it's just a better heavy plate because it draws a card and heavy plate cycles. So, like, I don't really know what they do there. It's hard to tell what they do with Shield Block, to be honest. Change it to 4 mana, draw 2, gain 5. I think for 3 mana, draw 2, gain 5 is a little nutty. So if you're gonna draw 2 cards, I don't think you can make it draw 2. Shield Block, they're gonna make it go up 1 or down 1 mana, and if it goes up a mana, they're just gonna make it do a lot more. And if it goes down a mana, maybe 3 armor or something. The problem is it's in that 3 mana spot, and that's an awkward spot. It just doesn't do enough for 3 mana. The bird, I don't know. I hated the whole fire spell thing, to be honest. Yeah, I wouldn't mind 8 armor. I think 3 mana for 8 armor, draw 1 is good. But then just, like, what do you do about heavy plate? The bird never saw play, to be honest. The deck that the bird was supposed to see play in, it never did. The problem is I hate fire card. So what if you change the bird to, like, whenever you cast 2 spells or, like, 3 spells, you just change it to casting spells, or if you gain 8 or more armor, resummon the bird. Dude, that would be lit. Change Shield Block to 8. Make the bird whenever you get 8 armor, resummon the bird. That would actually almost bring, I think that would actually make Control Warrior, like, waste of a legendary. Right now it is, but then we're gonna make it great. I don't know. How about we do the gain armor thing? I like the gain armor thing. Gain armor, resummon bird. It takes armor to hatch eggs. Eggs require armor and affection. Naga. That's a so this is the siren. I don't know. That's probably just a revert, right? They probably just revert the siren. Because they did print new Nagas, right? They printed new Nagas and nobody is playing Naga Mage, right? Like, no one plays Naga Mage. So they probably just revert that. Back to 4 mana? Yeah. I see just a revert there. I don't see, like, another drastic change to it. They'll just bring it back to what it was. Because at the time, it was too good. And then they nerfed it. And then it was too bad. And now they'll just bring it back. So then we're going to probably see Naga Smells again. The next card is the new legendary spell for Mage. The Maximo card. I honestly don't even know how you change that card. In my opinion, that card is terrible. And the reason being is it's a finale card. So, like, when you're discovering a spell and you're spending 2 mana to discover a spell and it has to be your last 2 mana, and then you're picking a spell, you don't get to play it that turn. You know what I mean? So it's just like a super value card, but it's not, you know what I mean? That's a lot of mana to, like, not do anything. Like, at 10 mana, that's 20% to do nothing. At 10 mana, you can't be spending 20% of your mana to do nothing. So I honestly don't know how you change this card to make it even playable. If you change it to 1 mana, it's probably still not playable. I don't know. I think this card requires a full-on rework. Like, just don't make, like, just take out Finale. Finale makes the card terrible. Like, Just take the finale off, make it a 2-mana discover a spell. If you play it this turn, return it to your hand. Yeah, so you play the, yeah, I think that, all right, that's not bad. So it's a 2-mana, discover a spell. If you play that spell this turn, return that card back to your hand. Okay. Or not the card that you played, but the new legendary spell. I think that's fine. Okay. Oh, the armor gaining elemental. Right now he's a 1-mana 1/2. Whenever you play a spell, get armor. So 1-mana 2/2. 1-mana 1/3. That's generally what they do. They're not going to change his effect. So it's a 1/3 or a 2/2. That's this is the only two things that they could possibly do to this card. They're not, it's obviously a buff, so audio splitter. Right now it's a 3-mana 4/2 death rattle. Whenever it dies, copy the highest cost card. Is it card in your hand or spell in your hand? I'm pretty sure it's the highest spell. The audio splitter is. It's already a 3-mana 4/2 though, or it's already a 3-mana 4/3. How do you make a 3-mana 4/3 better without changing the ability or something? It already has good stats. Battle cry, but you don't. Instead of a death rattle, you make it a battle cry, or you copy 2 spells. Copy the spell twice. There's no way. That's way too much value. Yeah, audio splitter. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. I don't. Copy the highest and lowest. Probably copy the highest and lowest. Seems like a lot of value for 3-mana though. 3-mana 4/3, already decent in stats, and then copy the highest and lowest. I mean, that just gives aggro decks like infinite fuel. A 2-mana 3/2 seems like it could be fine. But like, what's the difference between a 3-mana 3/2 and a 3-mana 4/3? Like, on turn 2, you're playing the keyboard anyway. I don't know. That was a weird one. We have the Stranglethorn, like the Hunter legendary spell here. It's 10 mana. It's gonna go to like, it already summons all of the big beasts, right? And it has tradable. So the only thing that they could do is give the beast like charge. Or reduce the mana. So it's gonna be 9 or 8. For the new legendary Hunter spell. That's really the only change. Yeah, it's got to be 8 or 9, or they give the beast charge. If they say give the beast charge with that card, does that turn into like a tier S card? Beasts that you summon have charge. I mean, you're already most of the time summoning King Crush, but like Banjo, beast charge would be uninteractive. Yeah, all right, never mind. They can't give this card give beast charge. Because then if it hits Banjo and Banjo attacks and it pulls like, it can have like 15 attack. Yeah, let's not do that. All right, 1 Arcane Hunter card. This card, is this the legendary guy? I don't know. All the Arcane Hunter cards, they suck equally. The problem with the Arcane Hunter cards is all the cards, they either buff your deck or they buff your hand. It just needs to say buff your hand and your deck, and the deck is fixed. That's all they have to do, is the cards that say give the arcane cards in your hand +1 spell power, just change that to all the arcane spells in your hand and deck. And then the card that says like, you know, battle, it's like a 3-mana 3/4, give all arcane spells in your deck +1 spell power, just change that to, again, hand and deck. The deck is fixed. The problem is you're buffing cards that are in your deck that you haven't drawn yet, that you won't draw because you die because the deck sucks. Or you're playing cards to buff the arcane spells in your hand and you don't have any arcane spells in your hand because you're playing them to stay alive because the deck sucks. So how about we buff the ones that we happen to have in our hand and the ones in our deck? Easy. Fucking easy. The Shaman Weapon. This thing needs another durability. Right now it has 2 durability, and the thing with the Shaman Weapon is you don't want to, like, it's not like the Warrior Weapon where you're attacking it, you want it to 1, and then you're going to use it soon for AoE. Like, you use the Shaman one to have, like, a big pop-off turn with, like, Criminal Lineup, or, like, Ragnaros, or, like, Alec here. So, it has 2 durability, so when you attack with it, you can never attack again with it, and then it's just sitting there. But if it has 3 durability, you're never using this card in 3 turns anyway. You're literally sitting on this weapon for multiple turns in a row. So having it an extra durability lets you trade off some smaller minions because the Overload Shaman is a slower deck. I think that makes a lot of sense, giving this weapon another durability. The new healing card. So I don't understand why they printed a whole bunch of these Overload cards when the Overload quest and all of the Overload stuff just rotated out. I would have liked for them to push for a different type of shaman. To be honest, like, we just did the whole Overload thing, and now they're just printing more Overload stuff, but it's just worse. And for those of you who remember Quest Shaman when it first came out, Quest Overload Shaman, it was like a really good deck, and it got nerfed 2 or 3 times. And now we're buffing Overload cards when we would like just do something else with Shaman. Overload has never been a good mechanic. Like, some cards could have Overload, but you don't need a whole deck around it. You don't need an Overload deck because it's never been good. No one has ever gone, man, Overload Shaman was my favorite deck. No one has ever said that. Just like no one has ever said Arcane Hunter is my favorite deck. Lightning Storm, they already buffed that card once. They buffed it because they actually buffed it for the best reason ever. It used to do 2 to 3 damage. The card used to play an AoE card that overloaded you 2, that used to do 2 or 3. So Knife Juggler back in the day was a 2-man, what was he, a 2/3? Or he was a 3/3? I don't know. I just remember there being 3 HP creatures that you'd need to kill. And it would Lightning Storm would low roll for the 2, and you would lose. You'd spend 5 mana to do 2 damage to everything. It was terrible. It was like the worst removal in the game, or the worst AoE in the game. 1 Overload? Yeah, probably. I mean, you can't make it do 4 damage. Yeah. I mean, it's already 3 mana, deal 3 to everything, Overload 2. So, you either make it 2 mana, which I think is kind of broken. 2 mana, deal 3 to everything, but it is Overload 2. So you're technically spending 4 mana to do 3 to everything, which isn't that crazy. So they either decrease the Overload or they decrease the mana. They're not going to increase the damage. Not for that mana price. This card discovers a copy of a spell in your deck, right? It's a what is this? It's a 2 mana 3/2, or is it a 3 mana 3/2? I don't even know. I have only played with this card a handful of times. I don't even want to talk about the Overload mechanic. All the Shaman cards suck. All the Overload Shaman cards suck. Let's go to the Warlock cards, the Fatigue cards, because these cards are kind of scary. So they buffed Crescento, and then they buffed the one that summons imps, but they didn't buff the imp one, and I think that was the worst one. The imp, the 2 mana 1/1 imp that got stats based on the amount of fatigue you took was the worst one. And they're buffing what I think Crescento was already good. And then the other imp card was already scary. Like, these were not the problem cards. These were really not the problem cards, in my opinion. So maybe you start at 1 fatigue already or something. Or maybe if you've taken a fatigue, take another fatigue. Maybe they just try to rework the whole mechanic. Like, I don't know, man. The imps are already 3/3s. I don't like the whole... this mechanic isn't good anyway. And then they buffed cards that weren't the problem. The problem was the other fatigue imp card. Siphon... What is it? Is it a 5 or a 6 mana card now? No one plays this card anyway. It's 5 mana, kill a minion, heal 3 right now, right? So what if it's like heal 5? What if it's... I mean, that actually probably make it playable, right? 5 mana, kill a minion, heal 5. Or heal based on the attack or health. But then it just makes it cannibalize. Yeah, the problem is Cannibalize is just a better Siphon. It's just a better Siphon. It's 4 mana. But then if you make Siphon 4 mana, it's still just literally Cannibalize, but worse.
So I don't know. Like if you just make it a standard heal 5, like it's a 5 mana remove a minion heal 5, I think that would be playable. I think that's how you make the card playable, because if you make it cost 4 mana but it only heals 3, it's just a shittier cannibalize. But cannibalize, the minion that you kill has to have like a high HP, right? And if it doesn't have a high HP, it feels bad. So there's still upside and downside to each. Disc Scratcher right now, what is it? It's like a 3 mana 3/2. Whenever you play a combo card, you refresh 1 more mana crystal. So what do you make it, a 3/3? You either make it a 3/3, you make it 2 mana. Dude, if they were to say if you were to play a combo card and it reduces 2 mana, or it gives you 2 mana back, that would be insane. That's like the biggest buff. So like 2 small buffs would be like a 3/3, which I think is probably too good too. That's 9 mana for 3. That's 9 damage for 3 mana. You make it a 2 mana 3/2, or you get back more mana. I mean, Hearthstone cards they're not easy to guess, but like they hardly ever do reworks on the cards. So they change the stats, they change the mana, they change the damage. Like there's very few things that they can touch, right? So they're gonna either make it more attack, more durability, less mana. That's normally what they hit here. So Blingtron, dude, that card just sucks. It's at its core, it just sucks. They're probably just gonna make Blingtron be a bigger minion or something. Like, or he's gonna be a bigger minion, or he's gonna cost less mana. Those are the only 2 options, baby. Nova. Well, since they're touching Lightning Storm and they touch Nova, I mean, what does Nova cost? I thought Nova was already at 3 mana. What is Nova? Is it 4 mana still? Nova's 4 mana. Does it do 2 or 3 damage? I don't even know. No one plays these cards. It's a 4 mana, deal 2. Holy Nova never. That's like a Flame Strike hit your opponent in the face. I swear, I don't think it even hits face anymore. I don't know, man. I don't play Priest. Priest sucks. Who plays Priest? No one plays Priest. Curie! Right now it's a 4 mana 2/2. You get a Lunar and a Solar. So it's like, it's either gonna be a 4 mana, it's gotta be like a 4 mana 3/4. It's a 3/4 or a 3/3, or it's 3 mana. It's gonna be one of those. I would like to see the stats go up, because I think the card is already good. I think a 4 mana card that gives you 2 cards, and with Solar letting you cast spells twice. You think a 3 mana 3/3, you think it goes down a mana and goes up +1/+1? That would be a huge Curie buff. Yeah, I think it just goes to like a 3/4 or something. I'd like to just see it as like a 4 mana 3/4. Because then you're still playing a premium, right? Like a 4 mana is like a 5/4, you know, or a 5/5. So you're still playing a premium in the like the stats, but you're not getting like a 2/2 body. A 2/2 body is just fucking horrible. You can't be getting 4 mana 2/2s in this meta. And then the Death Rattle Druid card. Dude, I've been saying give this guy Taunt. Since this guy came out, give this guy Taunt. This guy needs Taunt. You give this card Taunt, we're talking. If this card doesn't get Taunt, they fucked up everything. All you have to do is give this card Taunt because you need it to die. The problem is you don't do anything till turn 6. You play this 7/6 that gets the Death Rattle from your deck, and it doesn't have Taunt, so your opponent goes, okay, I just won't kill that. And then they just ignore it, and then you die. This card needs Taunt. Alright, nerfs. So nerfs are going to be more impactful, in my opinion. I think these 4 nerfs will probably do more, or the same as all of these buffs, to be honest. Alright, so we have the Rowdy. This is currently, it sees play in the Death Knight deck that runs Lady, and it gives +4 attack for 3 mana. So it's a 3 mana 1/4, give +4 attack. And I think that's insane. Like, that just feels insane to me. They can't just make it a battle cry, because that gets rid of the whole, like, Quillbore thing, and the new effect was, like, give this card a buff, and until this die, it remains. A 1/3, The thing is, I don't think making the stats on the 1/5 lower isn't the problem. The problem is they kill you in one turn with the lady. The lady has 6 attack. The DH plays 3 or 4 spells, and you take 24 plus damage. The problem is, like, it's not... The problem is not being able to kill the 1/3. It's that +4 attack is a large attack. So you've got to reduce her attack. So you make this card cost 4 mana, or you reduce the attack down to like 2 or 3. What if you make her like a 2 mana 1/4 give +2 attack? I think that would be fine. 2 mana 1/4 give +2 attack. Well, then she's a 2 mana 3/4. That's still like good. That's still really good for aggro decks. She just doesn't kill you with Lady anymore. Because you need to play Lady, which is 3, and then a 2, and then a 2. It just adds more cards to get the same effect. You know what I mean? Yeah, 2/5. I don't think we give the card more attack. I think we take attack away. How would they make Crescendo better? I actually, for that one, I didn't know, to be honest. I think that whole fatigue mechanic needs to be reworked. I don't like... The card that is the worst out of all of the new Warlock fatigue cards isn't getting a buff. They're buffing the 2 cards that are already, their abilities are good. The mechanic is bad. That fatigue mechanic is just bad, but the cards are good. So, like, I don't know. Like, I just want to see them get rid of that whole fatigue thing, come up with something else. That's my hope to the buff, is they just fix that fatigue bullshit. Like, it's just not good. Like, it's just not a fun mechanic. Like, I don't know. They add the word finale on them. Oh no, that would make it really bad. How would they make... I don't know, finale, you take 1 more fatigue? Like, I don't know. Honestly, finale, you take 1 more fatigue. Just 1 fatigue damage. Not 1 more fatigue. But, like, just 1 additional damage of fatigue. That would actually be probably okay. Frost DK. Right now, she's a 6 mana 5/6 battle cry. Draw 2 cards if they're frost. Deal 2 damage to everything. Take away the 2 damage to face. Draw 2 spells. Nah, having them be specifically frost is fine. I think they just take away the face damage she does, to be honest. Make it cost 7 mana? No, that's not it. I think you just take away the 2 face damage. 5/6 is too big. Make it a 4/5. I agree. Drawing 2, dealing AoE damage, dealing damage face, and having a good body. They're gonna have to take away 2 of the 3 things, or at least 1 of those things, right? You change the mana, change the stats, or change the damage, right? And I think the damage is the first thing. Like, just have it, like, why does it do 2 damage face? Let's just have it do 2 damage to the board. Let's take away the 2 damage face, and I think that's fine. That makes a big difference, to be honest. And I don't play Wild, so I don't even know what the fuck's going on with Twig. I can just assume that people are having, like, Twig is just breaking the game. Like, I already knew what Twig, I know what Twig does. I can only assume Wild, it's fucking crazy. And then they just have a picture of a Death Knight here. So, I don't even know what this means. It doesn't... If they targeted individual cards, then they would have listed the cards. So this could either mean 1, they're just nerfing Death Knight, period. Or 2, they don't know what they're nerfing for Death Knight yet, so they didn't want to list the cards. It's an overall DK, a mechanic change. The deck tech said the Death Knight symbol is because there's a general rules and system change coming for Death Knight that will generally make it weaker and curve some negative play experiences. Well, I don't even know what that could mean, right? Like, we have start with -5 HP. I mean, DK brought us their hero powers, 2 corpses for each corpse. Dude, that would... Ooh, 2 corpses for each corpse. I mean, that doesn't even like fundamentally make sense though. Someone said give the hero power rush. Does it still die though? Gonna bound your rune discovers for your current rune setup. That's also, I can see that being likely. So if like, one thing that does frustrate me is if you're going against a blood DK and then they play Frostworm's Fury. You know what I mean? Like, why is a triple blood? Why did, like, when DH first came out, you could play Pandorian Exporter, which is what we did, and you would always discover triple of the 3 of another class because we didn't play those. And I always thought that was kind of broken. So, I mean, that's something we've talked about a lot, is if you, like, a Frost DK, you know what I mean? A triple Frost, and they get Vampiric Blood. So, I mean, yeah, if you're a triple, you don't get the other triple rune. You know what I mean? You get one. Like, you could still get Patchwork, right? But if you're a Frost DK, you don't get Vampiric Blood. It's that, or, I mean, there's the hero power thing, too. I mean, the hero power is just insanely strong. I mean, the hero power is just, you can't argue that that is not an insane hero power. The hero power, if you notice, always does so much. Whether it's clearing a 1 HP minion, whether it's, you know, 5 to 10 damage throughout the game, whether it's adding to their corpse count. I mean, that hero power is absurd. It just synergizes so well. So making it have rush is kind of good. I could, you know what I mean? That would reduce it a lot. The ghouls don't give corpses. I think the ghouls giving corpses is important. I think if you don't draw a minion, you shouldn't be corpse locked. I think the hero power giving corpses is fine. I think that's, I don't, you know what I mean? Like, it feels good when you hero power and you know you got a corpse from that. I think that's a feels good thing. However, it hitting face, I think maybe the rush, honestly, if they have rush, that would be huge. So yeah, I mean, we could either see that the hero power has rush, or you can't discover runes that your deck currently doesn't play for 3 of them. So if you play a triple blood, you can't discover a triple frost, but you can still discover triple blood, which makes sense. And if you're a frost, you can still get Frostworm Furies, you just don't get Vampire. You don't get access to everything. You get access to what you've selected your deck to have access to. You know what I mean? Like, if you're gonna lock in triple blood, you could get more triple blood, but you don't get access to Frost Fury, which we've had more than enough blood DKs landing that Frost Fury on us. They should just be rarer. Well, then it feels like more of a high roll. You know what I mean? If you make it more rare, then it just feels even worse when it happens. I don't think that's a good fix. I think finding legendary spells off of discovers should be rare, but when you do, it should be fun. But there, you know what I mean? But finding like Vampiric Blood, you know, let's say we make it 2 times as hard and then your opponent still discovers 3 Vampiric Bloods in 1 game. It's like, holy shit, that level of luck, right? That feels horrible. So, I mean, my original change in idea to Blood DK was you make Patchwork cost 8 and you make Vampiric Blood cost 3, or you have them they spend 5 corpses instead of 3 corpses. Because I found that when playing Blood DK, one of the major issues with corpses in the early game, you don't have a lot of minions you're playing. So like spending 3 corpses is super easy to do, but spending 5 as a Blood DK on, like, that's a little bit harder to do. You know what I mean? And like, it makes sense with the card because 5 corpses, 5 health, like. So, but yeah, this is good. I'm down for this. I wish they would have touched a couple more cards, to be honest. Some outliers for me is like a Lead Dancer. A lot of the big cards, like there's some big DH cards that they printed that are just terrible that need to be reworked. Big Paladin cards like Lead Dancer needs Taunt. Another one that stands out to me is Rin. The new Warlock Legendary card has there's no reason to play her. She's a 6 mana 3/6 with taunt. Hurt your deck more than help it. Like it's just bad. Like there's a lot of cards that there's no purpose to them, and I don't know why they were designed and why they were created, and then why they were put into this expansion, and then why we had to buy them. Like they're unplayable cards, absolutely unplayable. So. And you know, I'm not against, like I've reached out to some people and they're like, I'm like, hey, like these cards need help. Like if you want meme decks and off meta decks to be at least playable, you have to help cards like this. And I've reached out before and mentioned stuff like that. So we'll see what happens. And if in the future they get more love. But yeah, I'm cool with this, but I really wish they would have touched a couple more cards that I think, like, what I'm saying, I don't think they need to take, you know, let's say Big Paladin or Big Demon Hunter, and let's say it's tier 5 right now. Let's say let's say tier 5 is the worst kind of deck. Tier 5 is the bottom of the barrel, right? Tier 1 being the best. Like, making a tier 5 deck a tier 3 deck, in my opinion, shouldn't be a problem. It's still not good. People are still going to just play tier 1 and tier 2 decks. But just instead of tier fucking 5, it's tier 3 now. You know what I mean? Give it a little bit of love. Still a meme deck. Still bad. But just not unplayable. You know what I mean? Because some of the decks that we try to make work are straight up unplayable. Like we give up on the deck. It's just not, even though the cards are cool and the cards are new, they're unplayable. They're just, you can't play with them. They're just not good. But the idea behind them sometimes is good. Like the idea behind Rin is good. Like there's something there, but the card is fucking unplayable. So. These changes go live this Thursday. So this Thursday is when these changes will come out. So, all right. With that, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. And what do you guys think? Catch you in the next video, of course. I'm Warshack, and happy whatever the hell day it is.